you have ADHD, it is super helpful to eat in the first part of the day because you're providing your brain with the fuel that it needs to function. And when people don't, when they go most of the day without eating and they have most of their calories in the latter half of the day, oftentimes you can feel more tired, you can have lower motivation, focusing is harder, initiating tasks is harder, and you're way more likely to not have the spoons to prepare a nourishing meal. And instead, folks are often more likely to reach for hyper palatable, really easily accessible snack foods. However, for a lot of reasons, which I've covered in the other videos I've posted this week, a lot of people with ADHD don't feel hungry in the first part of the day. So if that's the case, if you know that eating in the first part of the day is helpful, but you don't feel hungry, what do? Let's run through some options. Option number one is to prioritize pleasure above all else in those meals that are coming at the beginning of the day. I think when a lot of people are trying to focus on their nutrition and regulating it, they start trying to optimize it at the same time. And so oftentimes they'll try to make breakfast super healthy and lunch super healthy. And that's great, but if you don't have a good appetite, you're probably not going to find those foods appealing. And so the reality is when you're aiming for those foods, you're probably just not going to eat. So I'd encourage you to keep in mind that fed is best, especially if you are just starting on this journey of changing your eating patterns. And when you are planning what you're going to have for breakfast or lunch or snacks during the day, try to pick things that you know that you are more reliably going to actually want to eat, because it is way less likely that those foods are going to give you the ick when you go to try to eat them. Tip number two, which is not going to work for everybody, but if you take medications like Adderall or Vyvanse, your appetite is going to be much lower after you take those medications. And so if you don't feel super nauseous when you first wake up, focusing on prioritizing that first meal that you have before your medications have really kicked in can be a huge benefit. Tip number three is to not set your sights necessarily on having a full meal, because for a lot of people, a large meal, that in and of itself can put you off of it because it feels overwhelming and overstimulating. And so if you've been trying to have meals during the day and that's not working out because you feel overwhelmed or it just makes you feel frustrated that you're not wanting to eat it, then don't plan on having a meal. Plan on having a series of snacks instead. And if you need some ideas of what nourishing snacks might be that could help fuel your brain, I do have a sensory snack list, which you can find in the link in bio. Another option is to try to aim for more liquid sources of nutrition, because for a lot of people, if your appetite is poor, it is a lot easier to drink something than it is to eat something. Things like protein shakes, smoothies, drinkable yogurt, those kinds of things can all be really helpful things to get a little bit of extra nutrition in you when your appetite is not feeling super great. And the last thing that I would really recommend is to not get all or nothing about it. Any amount of nutrition that you're getting in, if it's more than you were getting before, is a huge win, because eating more during the day is supposed to help you, but if it's becoming a source of stress and it's becoming a source of obsession, it's not helping, it's hurting. So start small, be gentle with yourself, and be curious. Hope this helps.